I really enjoyed Wandavision. It was a great show. I loved all the buzz that surrounded it. The fans were excited and the talk was amazing. The last 7 weeks there was constant talking online of what or on what could, would, or should happen on the show. While the first of those words, could, is fine and a lot of fun, the other two, would and should, are problematic. If you are so convinced that something will happen or should happen, you may end up disappointed or angry even. That makes no sense. Marvel is under no obligation to give you what you think you should get. They are they are the one who create these amazing shows and movies and are in charge. Your job as a fan is to either like or dislike what they do. If you get angry because something didn't happen because you were convinced it would have or should have, you are the problem, not Marvel. Hello, and welcome to the Review of Champions. Today we're going to talk about the final episode of WandaVision and the whole show. Currently streaming on Disney Plus. Before we begin, I would like to invite all of you who are listening or watching to join our community. Go to our forum on Sakar, make an account, chat us up, and if you're willing, you can be on the podcast or view yourself. We are open to anyone and we'd love to see you there. Well, let me introduce today's panel. With me are Taylor first, R.R.
Hello.
Archtenton, and Lord Deathman.
Hey everyone.
Well, I will just summarize the season finale real quick because basically it showed us how the Westview situation got resolved. We're going to talk about it a little more, of course, now, and we're going to talk spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, go do that first, and then come back to watch our review. Taylor, you get to go first this time, if you're willing. What did you think of the finale, and how did it conclude the show for you?
The finale was fantastic. It concluded the show perfectly. We'll talk about the whole show later. I'll stick with the finale right now. It couldn't have gone any better. It went exactly right. It hit all the right notes. References up the wazoo. Yeah, again, I always talk about the writing. The writing is just incredible. Without even getting into the dialogue, the writing of the final conflict and how it went from start to finish and how it was resolved was just brilliant. Everything from Agatha tells Wanda that I can suck your powers if you hit me with them, to then Wanda hits her with a car instead, knocking her into a house, where we then have a Wizard of Oz reference of her shoes sticking out from underneath the crashed car and house, all the way to her use of the runes, harkening back to the last episode where she remembered what Agatha had told her, which harkens back to the comics. Agatha was, someone who taught Wanda stuff in the comics about her powers, to her realizing that she doesn't know everything about her powers, and therefore has to draw from what she's learned in the last two episodes, really, of the show, to the Vision on Vision battle, ending up in the library, which we've only seen once before in this entire series, which was in that black and white episode. And I thought it was strange then, that location, and now it made perfect sense. It was a perfect location for the final, not just brutal battle, but a battle of wits between the two visions, where one vision was able to change the mind, open the mind of the white drone vision, or whatever you want to call it. But we'll get into more detail, but absolutely perfect episode. Don't even get me started on the fandom rumors, the fan plans, the fan whatever you want to call them. The Mephisto reveal was awesome. Oh wait, no, there was no Mephisto reveal. It only existed in your head from the beginning. Okay, what we had was Agatha Harkness, and she was awesome. But I'll let the rest of you chime in before we go on. Thank you.
Oh, I'm almost scared of Taylor now. Lord Deathman, what did you have to say about this?
I really enjoyed the season finale of WandaVision. I can't go as far as Taylor as to say it was perfect, but it was pretty close. So I have to say that if there are any complaints from my side, that they're few and very far in between. But that being said, I kind of did the rounds or made the rounds a little earlier today, taking a look at what fans and some of the more prominent critics had to say about it. And I think what you said to introduce this episode really rings true about satisfaction with the episode there. And I saw so much discontent around so many things that didn't materialize as the fans or the critics wanted them to happen. And I agree with you 100% that that's really on you if you kind of constructed this whole mythology around Mephisto or Nightmare. It's really quite comical to me that people would be dissatisfied with Marvel for things that they were expecting that Marvel kind of made no promises about whatsoever. But in any event, I had to say I found it satisfying, right? So rather than use, accolades like perfect or the best ever, I always gauge entertainment from Marvel as, was I satisfied? Did this move the story along? Was it compelling? Was I entertained? And they hit all of those check marks with this season finale. And looking at the series as a whole, that this really is a landmark show, which I think moves the whole conversation about the MCU forward, and it makes a lot of things more possible. So, for me, I'm a huge fan of the Vision as a character and in all of his incarnations. So I felt that I understood what Paul Bettany was saying when you were going to get that Luke Skywalker level appearance in the finale. It wasn't that I wasn't expecting some other weird character out of the blue. I was like, you know what? It probably will be some other incarnation of the Vision. And I'm happy to see that I was at least right about the one thing that I speculated on. I thought that fight was really well realized, not just from the point of view of the action and flying around, and even though that was really awesome to see two phasing Visions fighting each other in this battle where the battlescape sort of moves around because of their abilities. And to have that battle end up in the library, as Taylor pointed out, was just so apropos of the character of Vision. He's just such a reasonable, knowledgeable guy that the last front of this fight, and even the way he chose to resolve the conflict with the Vision, is he reasons with him, right? Like, it doesn't come down to who phases better or who moves faster, or who's got more calculations per second. They have a conversation about a thought experiment, which I thought was just an excellent piece of writing. I'm familiar with the thought experiment. Don't know if it strictly applies to the situation of the Vision as outlined by the series, but it's certainly made for great dialogue and pushing the story forward. So really love the conclusion, and I love the series as a whole. And I think there's some discussion to be had about the series as a whole and, where this takes Marvel at this moment. But low points for me, which I'll quickly go over, was as much as I do find the Agatha character very entertaining, and I thought she was a very good villain, I do think she was a little soft on motivation. So the whole idea that I'm out here just collecting magic to collect magic seemed a bit of a not a stretch, but it's just I wanted them to go a little deeper. I was like, what's the big plan after you get all this magic, Agatha? What are you going to do with it, right? The whole idea that I'm just kind of a leech for the sake of being a leech didn't turn me off, but I do wish we got a little bit more in that. I do think that there were kind of a few moments that felt MCU-ish in for lack of a better term, a couple of superhero landings. Vision hits one, the Scarlet Witch hits one. And those are the types of things that when a franchise becomes really super popular, you start to see that visual identity, those motifs appearing all the time. And I was like, okay, maybe we do need to ease up a little bit on that kind of stuff, and slow motion bullets passing people in that kind of Deadpool moment. So a few things that could have tweaked to be a little less like the brand, because the rest of the show is so forward thinking about the genre and manages to transcend it with this whole sitcom send up that I thought, wow, getting back to some of these sort of more conventional story beats kind of felt like a delta or a slight low. But again, those are really, really minor criticisms that I had with it. But overall, love the finale and really adored the series.
Well, we haven't heard from Arch yet, so Arch, what did you make of it?
I absolutely loved it. Just nearly every bit of it. I don't like to assign, perfect whatever like categories to it, but it was satisfying in every single way. I'll just hit a couple of big moments. One that we haven't really touched on yet is just Wanda, man. And every way from her, the way her character developed to the way she looks, she's just stunning, man. I thought it was amazing to watch her, kind of get the upper hand after a few different efforts on Agatha, and the way they did the rune sort of aspect of it, where she tricked her essentially and got her power back, and to watch her become just visually the Scarlet Witch was quite incredible. I was watching that the entire time. When she came back down and landed and was talking to Agatha, she's just stunning, man. That's all I can say about her. She looks great. I still love the crown idea. I love the idea that this is somehow some sort of mythical power base. It's like the crown represents some sort of level of achievement within the mage community. I don't know exactly what that is, and I think we're going to kind of find out as we go further with the Doctor Strange story and the Wanda story in general. So we'll see what's going on there. Just to kind of carry on with something that Deathman just said about Agatha, I think Agatha has a genuine desire to help Wanda on some level. Wanda cut her off right at the end. You see Agatha get turned back into, the nosy neighbor as the conclusion of this particular arc. But she was saying she made some really good points about Wanda, that the reason she's dangerous is she's got all this power that exceeds the Sorcerer Supreme, but she doesn't have the knowledge to know what to do with it. So it's a bit like a chimp with a machine gun sort of scenario, where that might be where some of this story is headed.
Wait, time out. Did you just compare Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff with a chimpanzee?
A chimp with a machine gun. No, I'm just saying she's got
I heard that right.
Yeah, chimp with a machine gun. I did. So she's got a lot of. I did just call her stunning as well, though. So I just to clarify. So she's got a lot of power, but might not know what to do with it. So I'm curious to see where that could possibly go. But Agatha there was, I think, genuinely saying she needs help, and Wanda cut her off. She was saying no, but wait, and I think she means that Wanda might be setting herself up for a little bit of a disaster. I don't know where that's headed, but I'm curious to see it. I'll just tie that in with the ending a little bit. Love the ending with her doing a Doctor Strange style astral plane reading and learning while she was awake. By the way, Strange was doing that while he was asleep. Wanda was just casually making tea and studying on the astral plane, and she heard her children screaming. Not sure if those kids are in some sort of alternate reality or if it's somebody messing with Wanda, but I'm curious to see where that goes. Vision, you guys mentioned Vision several times. The idea of the thought experiment with the Theseus' ship, that's just deep, man. Like you said, that was very appropriate for the character, and just it makes you think yourself a little bit. I actually went and read about how often it takes your cells to regenerate, and it's somewhere on the order of every 7 to 10 years. So if you're listening to this and you're over 10, you don't really have anything in your body that was originally there. So what makes you you? It's a really kind of cool question, and I think it was interesting how they used that to breed a new Vision. And even right at the end of the episode where Vision says something very close to, I used to be a mind without a body, I used to be a body that wasn't human, who knows what I'll be next. And I just love that idea, and the idea that we're getting some new, completely different version of Vision. So I thought that was all great. I do want to just quickly touch on the theme that you set up at the beginning. I didn't know you were going to do that, but people outguessing themselves. And really, guys, I'm going to go with the Quicksilver thing. That was never completely on the table. I think everybody who is a little bit upset with that, you boxed yourself in a corner. I'm sorry. That was never a promise. They were pretty clear something else was going on there the entire time. You guys know me, I've never once thought that a full-on crossover with other franchises was a good idea in the first place. So, sorry, I don't know what to tell you, but that was never really in the cards. You kind of wrote that in yourself, and just because you thought of it doesn't make it the most logical thing to do. Sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did a little victory dance when I heard that boner joke last Friday. I know where Wanda's headed. I mean, she's not well. She needs to go to the doctor. Anyway, what I noticed one incredible reference also on the square when the family gathered and they lined up to fight Agatha, the White Vision, and the military. That was an Incredibles reference. The way they stood, they were ready to go. I really loved it. The finale actually finished the deal for me. I think WandaVision is absolutely brilliant. It's one of the best TV shows I've seen. I am going here out on the limb, and maybe I get some heat for this, but I think it's better than The Mandalorian even. And, well, that was amazing, as we have discussed before. I think the writing was excellent. Let's talk about the dialogue. The moment Wanda and Vision said their goodbyes. Yeah, again, they brought me to tears. Yeah, I should. I don't know if I should compliment the writer or curse them for making me cry so many times on Friday morning. But anyway, I really loved it, and Elizabeth Olsen, excellent acting. She is so great in this show. She goes through the whole spectrum of emotions. She brings it convincingly, and yeah, it's absolutely Emmy-worthy stuff, man. If she isn't nominated, I riot. And yeah, overall, I really thought the show was strong as it was. I think they used the sitcom situation and how they slowly moved away from that, and how it was made actually sense in the overall story, and how they finished it off with the epic finale, which was full-blown Marvel movie, the way you want it to be. I think it was absolutely brilliant. I'm not gonna say it was perfect, because nothing is, but yeah, it really was good. Yeah, overall, this show, how was it for you? Well, I'm gonna turn it around now. Arch, why don't you go first? Overall, this show, what did you think of it, and how did you feel about it?
I thought it was perfect. No, I just wanted to throw that word out there. I thought it was brilliant, man. I thought the idea of asking yourself what is Wanda feeling after she goes through Infinity War and Endgame, and she goes back, tries to say goodbye to Vision, has this life that you see that they've been trying to build, and she just can't take it anymore. And so she kind of realizes, or I guess she doesn't realize it, but she releases this ability that she's had the whole time to manufacture her own reality. Just the concept of that as a show, and then to use that to make and produce this sitcom style unique environment that really couldn't happen in many other ways. I that was just an inspired choice. I thought the level of detail that Taylor's brought out in their choices stylistically and was amazing. The episode where they went back and through Wanda's past and showed those little moments of how she developed through the contact with the Infinity Stone and you know, where her family died in the bombing with the Stargate. All those little things were just all great little touches that helped move everything along. I think it sets up the show nicely. One little thing I didn't mention earlier was how they progressed Monica and left her obviously at the end here with a path forward towards Captain Marvel 2 is where we think she's headed, and they kind of set that up nicely. Just every little moment in this show seemed purposeful and well considered and just great. I enjoyed every single bit of it.
Okay, who's the him? Is that Talos or is it Nick Fury?
My first thought was Nick Fury.
Yeah,
but
mine
I've
too.
heard people say Talos, and it certainly could be. So I guess I'll
Yeah,
just
but
wait and see.
Talos was on Earth, and Nick Fury, we saw the last time we saw him, he was in space. But anyway,
That was my first thought.
yeah, Lord Deathman.
Yeah, happy to sound off here. I enjoyed this series immensely. I think it's a milestone for the MCU. And I think, again, they've just managed to push the envelope on what's possible with the genre, which I'm constantly hoping for. And they always manage to deliver on it. When I think about the entire series, what I really liked about it, and some of the observations that I really don't hear when I look towards, the fandom or social media or critical commentary, is what we really saw is either 6 or 5 hours, if you want to subtract the credits from it, of an origin story, for the Scarlet Witch, right? That is what Disney managed to produce for us in this incredibly innovative sort of format, using these sitcoms as the backdrop for it. I'm a huge fan of the Vision, so I kind of stand a little bit more for the Vision than I would for Wanda, although I think the two of them are a great pairing as science and sort of magic characters coming together. But I've always been drawn to that character because I've always liked characters that were not human, but then have the opportunity to sort of comment on humanity, right? That sort of outsider perspective. And I think it always just makes for great writing. And those characters always feel sincere and really cool in a way. I think the prototype for that type of characters is Mr. Spock, probably on Star Trek. So a lot of characters like that, Mr. Data, always appeal to me. So I was like, wow, they managed to make me have a deeper relationship with the Vision, even though technically there is no Vision on this show, right? There's a construct of the Vision that Wanda has created, and then there's sort of a rebuild that Sword has done, and neither one of them are quite fully the Vision, but still he has a credible presence in the series, and I'm like, wow, that's really amazing, and it's really a love letter to the fans of that particular character. So I thought that was pretty strong. But getting back to the origin story of the Scarlet Witch, it's executed wonderfully, as you follow her through this mountain of grief that she's trying to deal with, how she built Westview, all of her interactions with the characters. Elizabeth Olsen does a great job of portraying her fear, her grief, and even her body language when it comes to emoting the Scarlet Witch's powers are just so on point. And I agree with the Grandmaster in that there should be at least awards for Elizabeth Olsen. I don't know, when God was sort of giving out the favors for her, he did it with both hands. I mean, she's an incredibly talented young woman and also a very beautiful woman, although we all know that that's strictly not, where all of her value is. But yeah, and one of the most surprising things, again, that I don't think people are really saying, and maybe you don't want to acknowledge it, but I am sorry to say, but you did see a 5-hour origin story for a villain, and I'm not even going to say an anti-hero. The Scarlet Witch, her powers seem to put her on that level of Marvel characters in that playing field where morals become a little more murky, the ethics of the situation. She's a chaos magic practitioner with nearly, cosmic level powers that exceed those of Stephen Strange. And she's very instinctive in terms of how she uses those powers. There's not a lot of, oh, well, what will it mean to these people if I enslave them all here? In Westview, she's very much like the Phoenix in the comic books, an instinctual sort of reactive creature. So I'm really interested in where we go from here with Wanda's story. And I'll really close out by saying that once again, they do a fantastic job of setting up the future for the MCU. Both of the Stingers. I was like, okay, wow, we're going to space, and then we're going to other dimensions, right? The multiverse, and then we're going upstairs, where we're going to see some, space level action and that cosmic side of it too, which is always huge for me in terms of the area that where I want to be. So, what are these Disney? I think it's now that we've seen all of this, we can say what exactly are these Disney Plus series? Well, one, you get to do this incredible deep dive into characters that might not have had an opportunity to have that happen for them in the movie, or will never have a movie dedicated to them. So that makes them hugely valuable here. They also stick the landing by making it so that you can move in and out of this Disney Plus and theatrical content without really feeling like you might have missed a lot. There was that deep dive with Vision and WandaVision, with Vision and Wanda, and you also have some setups for the future. But since you didn't see a Mephisto or a Nightmare, or Quicksilver's not coming from another universe, it did, in my mind, make the series feel self-contained. You could move it aside and just keep going with the movies if that's how you want to proceed. So I do think that that's probably the right thing to do from a business point of view, but we'll see how they manage to pull it off in the next series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I'm definitely looking forward to.
You and me both. Taylor?
Yeah, I would echo what everyone has said so far. The series is brilliant, and the amount of stuff that is in this series. I mean, we could talk for hours just about the amount of stuff that was in this series finale. There was so much stuff packed in there. The development of characters set up for future MCU projects, the development of side characters, the introduction of new characters. I see some stuff online, people complaining, oh, well, what happened to White Vision? Do you know how many movies and shows Marvel has in the can? Just be patient. We're going to find out what happened to White Vision. They don't have to do it in this 50-minute episode. And that's one of the keys of Marvel's success, is their patience. Wanda Maximoff first appeared in what? The end credits scene of Winter Soldier, I think. And she's been in 4 or 5 movies since then. And it wasn't until now that she's actually the Scarlet Witch. She wasn't even the Scarlet Witch up until that point. That is playing the long game right there. And now we're going to see what it is the Scarlet Witch is all about when we start going into Doctor Strange 2, etc. And the lack of patience has been the downfall of many shared universe attempts in the past, and we won't go into all of them, but there's a bunch of them. And it's just brilliant what Marvel has done. And again, I can't say enough good about this series overall. The series itself was an exercise in patience. It started with, the first episode was almost entirely a sitcom episode. And there were even people online after the second and third episode saying, oh, why haven't they answered all the questions yet? Why are they still doing sitcom episodes? And relax. They are building the stage here. They are setting up the finale, and the finale, as I said, was full. I mean, we haven't even talked about half the stuff that happened in that finale, between the Ralph Boner being, I'm sorry, it's just funny. The Ralph Boner holding Photon hostage. She's not Photon yet. There's more buildup coming, but Monica Rambeau hostage, and how she escaped, and then how she went and helped them defeat the Rogue Sword director. The kids, the loss of the kids coming back maybe in the credit scene. The ins and outs of the battle, which is the other thing. They managed to do all of this world building, all of this building to one conclusions of this story and setting up of future stories, all without sacrificing any of the action, any of the humor, any of the style. Did anyone notice in one of the scenes on the street, you can clearly see the marquee on the movie theater, and they were showing Oz the Great and Powerful, which is a sequel to The Wizard of Oz, directed by, yes, Sam Raimi, who is directing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And by the way, if you've seen that movie, Oz the Great and Powerful, there is a witch-on-witch battle that looks an awful lot like Agatha versus Wanda at certain angles and certain parts of this episode here. So I think there was a little homage to that movie in there as well. But again, we could just go on and on. But the bottom line is brilliant writing, brilliant direction, brilliant acting. I mean, we won't even get in all that. Pacing and building and patience. This is what all of it is defined right just within this one little teeny show out of probably 10, 12, 15 years of MCU at this point. This one little teeny show exemplified all of it brilliantly.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. It was brilliant. It's just as simple as that. Okay, Lord Deathman, you wanted to add something.
Just one last little nugget that I noticed as I was watching the episode for the second time is that on the marquee of a movie theater in Westview, they were playing a film called The Tannhauser Gate. And I was like, that sounds really familiar, right? I didn't know it immediately, so I'm not going to pretend that I immediately made the connection. But then I remembered that's a reference to Blade Runner, and I think that they put that in there because of the sort of identity and philosophical, metaphysical politics surrounding the Vision's identity as a real flesh and blood sort of synthesoid or a mechanical being. And some of those things, if you've seen Blade Runner, certainly do play out in that movie. So, kudos to the writers for looking at the high quality sci-fi reference material.
Really, you guys, you blow my mind like every other 3 minutes with references you spot. It's incredible. Yeah, well, we can talk about this for hours, but we don't have to. I think we can fairly conclude we all love the show. We all love the final episode. There's not much to say. So let's just conclude our review for WandaVision. Before we finish, I would like to ask you to hit that subscribe button and notification bell on YouTube, or follow us on Twitter or Instagram. Like our Facebook page, join us forum on Sakar. That way you will never miss us and we won't have to miss you. Thank you for watching this series. Join us in 2 weeks' time when we start reviewing The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Can't wait. See you then. Bye.